Episode 4.
Episode 4.
Coach's Corner.
Yeah, with Ramsey Fitzsimmons.
Right.
Track and field and cross country is the in-season
That's right.
sport right now. Thank you for joining us. And also thank you for your Booster Club membership. I see that came in via Venmo.
Yes.
You know, that's a new addition to the suite of ways to join the Booster Club. So thank you for doing that. And definitely appreciate it. Every little bit helps there. So, but yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have you had any meets yet, or how's the season starting and going so far?
Well, it's going well. We've had to deal with a little bit of logistical stuff since the season has started because of wet bulb thermometer guidelines. So because of this like crazy heat that we've been experiencing in the last couple of weeks, it's caused us, well, of course, as coaches, we want to be proactive. And so if we think there's a possibility that, we're going to be in the black or that we're going to have to cancel an afternoon practice, we're going to make sure that we can practice that day because the kids need to run. So we've been moving things to morning and having to go really early in the morning, like 6:15, which makes for a really early day for the kids. And of course, they're teenagers, so, there's the logistics of, did your alarm go off? Like, oh, coach, did you have a ride? Yep, that's a big one. How are you going to get ready for school after that? But they've been doing really well with it, and we haven't had too many complications with it.
No attendance issues.
Yes, but at the same time, then when you're running in the morning and the temperature is lower, then when you go to race and it's in the afternoon, that doesn't exactly bode well for your body system.
And kind of your acclimation to the running. Well, you're getting them ready for late season, October, November running, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
You want to acclimate them, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you can get that run in and get that practice in. So we've been just kind of a balancing act of that. So
trying to get the miles in, and miles come at that.
Running is better than not running.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so last week we had a meet, so they ended up moving it from Thursday. It was typically on a Thursday. They moved it to Friday because of heat concerns.
That's right. It was supposed to be a little cooler.
Yep, and then they reduced the distance of the race from 3.1 to 2.1 for everyone, combined races, so that it would get done quicker, and so everybody's kind of dealing with similar things that way, but they ran really well. It's hard to compare or kind of look at data as a coach when they do that. It's like, when have they run a 2.1 mile race?
Right.
There's nothing really to compare it to, but they looked good, they ran hard, those are the things you look for as a coach. And then yesterday we headed to Plattsmouth, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And that meet's probably one of our more competitive Class B meets. And yesterday was really ultra competitive. When Sean and I sit down and look at the data, and of course he's been coaching for 10 years here now at Sioux, so he keeps good records, so he's looking at records from 10 years ago all the way through our state championship team in 2016 all the way to now, and he's able to say, wow, that was a competitive meet. And to see that our kids, sometimes their place or how they place as a team, or even how they place individually, doesn't really reflect how truly amazing they ran. When you look at the whole of South Sioux, like South Sioux City runners, or if you look at the whole of Nebraska, and stack them up against, other South Sioux runners or other Nebraska runners,
So really
they are doing really well.
It does come down to, like they say, isn't it? You are racing each other, but you're really racing the clock, and it's about that PR. And then the other thing is, I think, use that data to look at, say, now, hey, we're really early in the season. And we had people that were, say, running at this pace, at this, it doesn't mean you can't be running this.
Right.
When you're peaking at the right time for your districts and hopefully states and things like that, And
the great thing was yesterday we saw our seniors, who are the kids that we've been training since the time they were freshmen, really step up and do what seniors do. And for us, that is a mark of a good program, that we're doing the right things, that if our seniors are leading and doing the things that we've taught them to do, that carries on down through the juniors, the sophomores, the freshmen. And so our main seniors all placed in the top 10 in an extremely competitive meet. Nice. Sean's looking at it going, okay, they've improved this much since last year. And then also he's looking at it going, Ivan Morelos, for example, our #1 runner from yesterday, he's sitting like number 12 all time for South Sioux City over that course. And that includes like district meets that we've run.
Right,
And,
so
you know,
that's a solid race.
that's a solid race, you
And
know?
there's been some solid runners, and I know you.
Especially on the boys'
The
side.
boys had you graduated. I forget his name. He was
Masudi.
Masudi.
Yeah. He'd been kind of that perpetual, making it to state, even placing that state.
And because of his efforts, I think that he has truly left behind a legacy and a team that can be successful without him.
Right.
Because
Seeing his workout.
sometimes people don't understand cross country because it's not a super common sport. It's not really
Right.
something you see in the Olympics
Right.
like track and field.
Right.
But people don't even understand how much of a team sport cross country really is, because
Right.
you cannot be successful at cross country as a team without collectively coming together and putting in that effort. Every single runner
Right.
matters, from the first all the way to the
Yeah,
sixth.
the weakest link saying, you only
Yes,
swing as your weakest link.
without
so
that
that's-
sixth person,
you're
you're nothing.
toast.
And
Every
the
point
fifth and the fourth,
counts,
every
right.
point counts.
Yeah.
And they've even suggested in the past, throwing out times with cross country, because courses differ from year to year.
Yeah.
And
You
just
can't.
Weather,
placement that
weather.
points to the place.
You can't
weather.
compare, because some courses are flat and some are extremely hilly.
Right.
So really, other than the distance is 5K, which I've been on a lot of courses where I've measured it out, and is it really 5K?
Right.
Yeah.
But they've discussed like throwing that out, because really it comes down to, if your first runner is first or second place, and then your second runner is close by under 10, and then your third
Yeah.
runner is under 15.
It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers
You're
game.
getting the team points. Yeah.
The team points, yep. And if they all come together on that day, you can really do something special.
Absolutely.
And that's the beautiful thing about cross country, is because it really is that team aspect. Even though it's individual, yes, you have to individually do your job.
Right.
But you really have to have that team connection
Yeah.
and that chemistry to do special things together. Masudi really helped out with that,
Oh.
because he taught those boys how to
Work.
come together.
Right.
So,
And I think truly dedicating, I would see him running, like dedicating yourself to those summer miles, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't show up and just say, oh, I got, 2 weeks of fall practice, I'm going to
Yeah.
be ready for that first meet. You do need those summer miles, and you need that summer training, and
that does really help. And this boys group, and our upperclassmen girls have really put in the work. We are never coaches that will ever sacrifice our training for the good of a early season competition. We'll
Right.
just never be that.
Right.
We're always going to make sure we're doing right by our runners training wise first. And then whatever comes in the races in that early part of the season is what comes. It's all training, and that's why we do look so heavily at data, because sometimes it's hard for runners to remember, oh, I got 10th place, and they
That's all
might
they
think to
remember.
themselves, that's all they remember, and they think to themselves, oh, that's not good. But if you can look at times from year to year, times overall with the team, like it really shows the progression. And then as we creep ever closer to that championship season, RCCs and districts and state,
Yeah.
that is the bread and butter. That is our goal, our true goal. And so we're always going to make sure that that meat of the season is impeccable training wise,
Right.
so that we can make that improvement and do special things come end of season. Sometimes that's tough as a coach, because when you go to an early season meet and they're fatigued,
You just want to.
you're like, I want them to go out and show what they really can do.
Right.
But really, it's more important for them to train.
it's building up to that.
Yeah.
Probably even hard for the kids too. 'Cause you know
It
they
is,
wanna
well, it
win.
is, yeah, and they want that immediate kind of
Gratification.
gratification.
Especially coming off of summer, all the training, and you're like, and not necessarily forgetting how to run that race, but yeah, you want that payoff, right? That instant gratification.
Exactly. That's why I think it is so important for us as coaches in our sport to keep track of that data and to make sure that we're being forthright with our kids, communicative about that data, so that they can keep perspective. Because, sometimes they look at a performance, and if they just didn't feel right that day, they have
Yeah.
negative feelings about
Yep.
it for whatever reason. And it's our job to kind of turn that negative feeling into a positive.
For sure.
So that they can move forward in their training and race better the next time.
So speaking of training, I don't know about you, I'm not much of a runner, as
We
you
were
can
just
tell,
talking
you
about
know,
it.
and so do you have, and this is, kind of really, do you have like trackers on them, or how do you know, say like, hey, you're gonna go run 5 miles, run to the river and back? Do you like go out there and they gotta like, how would like say I would maybe go to the, maybe not quite the river, I'm not saying your team
You would
is,
get
but
to the railroad tracks.
I would probably get to the railroad tracks and turn
Maybe,
around. I don't think
maybe,
I could make it to the
maybe.
river. So is there, obviously some of these watches and stuff, technology's gotta be pretty cool, but it's
Yes.
also, it's still getting the miles. And so I was wondering kind of your take, you have to, you gotta trust them, but you gotta go
Yeah.
double check on them a little bit.
And typically in sports, I think it's discouraged for kids to have their phones with them,
Sure.
and track and stuff.
Absolutely.
That you don't want the phone out on the infield or if they're
Right.
distracted. But as far as distance running goes, like just for safety reasons alone, they
Yeah.
probably should have
Have
their
the
phone
phone.
on them. Just in case. You never know when somebody's
Yeah.
going to sprain an ankle or if somebody's feeling nauseous.
Yeah.
They got to be able to get a hold of us so that we can come get them and deal with that. So if they have their phone on them, the beautiful thing about the evolution of technology with running is like they have Strava, the app
So
Strava
many
now,
apps,
so many
right.
apps that
Oh,
you can
yeah.
now measure. A lot of them have like me, have
You
Apple
use any on your
Watches.
kids? Like Life 360?
Yeah, I guess,
Something
I
you
check,
can
I
do
check
maybe
on
that.
them, so I guess, yeah, you just make sure,
Right.
did you make it all?
Well,
I mean, yeah, that's-
even I, when I get up in the morning and go work out, like I share my location with my husband.
Absolutely.
That's, smart.
You just never know
You
what's
know, right.
going to happen. And if something happens, he needs to know where I'm at, That's all beautiful stuff for running. And, if they are not with us, they can show us what they did through an app. You can look
Yeah.
and see how far
The
they
app don't
ran.
lie.
Yep, what pace they ran, all of it. But when it comes down to coaching the amount of kids that we coach, like upwards of 50 kids,
Really?
you really have to, it's the honor system.
Absolutely.
Really. And I always encourage my runners to listen to their bodies, because you really do. You guys probably know from the running that you have done, is like if you're not having a good day and you don't feel good, like running
don't run.
more isn't
Just don't
necessarily
run.
going to help the
Yeah,
situation.
good point. Yeah, if you got a little stomach something going on, or.
I
really just-
trust my runners to make the right decisions for themselves on that day. Now, it's one thing if they're bagging.
Right.
It's a whole other thing if they're not having a good day and they're feeling some type of way. I encourage them to listen to their bodies. Like if they're not
That's
feeling
good.
good, they need to run slower and they need to do what's right
Be
by
smart.
themselves and be
Right.
smart. Because any day that you're not listening to your body and you're pushing it beyond what's necessary could result in an injury, a season-ending injury. So you really have to, I'm not inside their heads.
Right.
So I
absolutely.
have no
Gotta trust
idea
them.
how they're feeling. They are the ones that know how they're feeling and how far they can push it. And I've really discovered with our kids, it's really more of a holding them back and kind of curbing it more than it is to like push them along.
Tell them it's
Telling
okay.
them you need to slow down, you
Or
need to go
rest.
shorter, rest, rather than having to worry about them,
Passing
cutting
out or
short
something.
or whatever. Yeah, our kids have the opposite problem. Like they're going long when they don't really need to.
Sure.
And because they want to see that jump too, they're driven by their own personal goals, or at least the ones that are, there for a serious reason.
Right.
We also have kids that we coach that are just there to have fun. And then in that case, why am I going to get in their face about, you need to, it's
you
all
know.
about their individual
Absolutely.
goals. So
Absolutely.
if their goal is to just have fun and be social and get in better shape, I trust them that they're gonna do what
Run
they
what
need
they
to do.
want.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the weight room though, that rest is, in running, is probably almost as important as the miles, right? You can't
Yes.
put in, just repeated, super long days and
Yeah.
all of that, and, that is, and then, so you said 50, you have 50 between the boys and the girls
Yeah, I
team
think we
approximately,
have,
Bob?
we're creeping towards that number, I know for a fact. The last I looked, we have 35 boys for sure.
Wow.
With like a couple more have joined, I think, since then.
Okay.
And then we have, I think, 10 or 11 girls.
So does it
So
break
it's
down?
creeping towards there.
Pretty young team?
Yes,
It is,
we've
a lot of freshmen.
we've gotten a lot of freshman boys. I would love to have more girls out.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do have for girls is quality.
Yeah.
Is real
for sure.
quality. So, we have our first 4 there.
So say good things about the team. Who are some of the names, some of the girls and boys that we're
So
going to be hearing about?
returners, Ivan Morelos
Yeah.
would be one of our returners that has repeatedly gone to state. And the
okay.
boys did go to state as a team last year.
Right.
They actually were 9th or 10th ranked going in and ended up placing 5th.
And you're
Yeah.
Class
Which
A?
was awesome.
Class
We're
A?
Class B.
Class
We're
B in
Class B.
running, and that's,
Yeah.
we're kind of, so Class B and
Yeah.
when it comes to state, okay.
The girls qualified a team last year for the first time, I believe, since they went with Shadle.
Yeah, a
Cool.
long time
So a
ago.
long time ago. I can't remember how many
99,
years.
2000.
Yeah, it might have been 1999.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so that was a
Wow.
big deal to qualify a girls' team for state.
And what, you know, you got a couple of seniors, I
Yep.
saw.
And so Lorena
Lorraine-
Valdivia,
Yeah, she was in like some.
she was a
running
conference
or-
champ, she
yeah.
was a district champ last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she has every ability to go out and medal at state and
Awesome.
be up at the front. And Brooklyn Heineman is just right behind her, you know.
Yeah.
Jackie Salgado is our third runner right now, and she just made such a big jump, like between last year and this year. I think we were laughing because I think her difference in time for Plattsmouth was like 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
Which is huge.
She's just a whole different runner.
Yeah.
I mean, because she trained all through track. She ended up actually qualifying as an individual in the 2 mile, which was not expected. But she ran with it and trained all through the summer, and now
She's starting off
Work
with a good
ethic.
pace, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then our fourth runner right now it's her first year in cross country, and she just did her first 5K yesterday. She did an awesome job, but it's going to be a learning curve there
for
for
sure.
a little bit.
Maybe that'll be show up the same progression as the gal previous, you know, hey, get this is your base, now you carry that to track, you train, and
Yeah.
it could be a thing, you know.
Well, and Sean and I have always, our biggest thing is we want to preach that we want to coach multi-sport athletes.
We were
And
talking about that in the
Yeah, last week,
podcast.
yeah, the bottom,
yeah,
Gotta have
it's
'em.
so important for our athletes to be multi-sport athletes. And our whole thing is come out, we're going to get you into shape for whatever it is that you want to do. So
Right.
if cross country is not your thing, we're still going to make you better at wrestling, basketball,
And it may end up being your
soccer,
thing.
whatever. Yeah, and it might end up being your thing.
Right.
But even if it's not, we're still going to make you better. And so
And
I
they'll be
would just,
competitive.
yes,
That
Kids are
competitive.
you're going to be in
competitive.
shape,
And
you
being sure
know.
that cardio is gonna be ready
Yes,
to go.
you know, if you're going into a wrestling season, you're not having to worry about
Right.
cutting weight because you've been running, you're at weight. You know,
Cross
if
country runners are
basketball,
crazy, man.
I'm not trying to brag or anything, but
Uh.
basketball, you know, I watch their preseason basketball conditioning, and I can see which ones are my runners.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
for
You
sure.
know, it helps with everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just always would love to have any kids. It doesn't, cross country is such an inviting sport, and Nate and I were just talking about that before we started, is how cross country, you have your serious kids, and that's what they're there to do. But you also have kids of all abilities across the race. I mean, some that are walking, you know, and everybody is so friendly and
Right.
they embrace all the abilities.
You're trying.
I try to tell kids this, you know.
Nothing to be ashamed, show up and
And,
try and try
come,
hard.
just
Yeah,
come
go.
and train or come and be a part of it. It's just a really friendly, inviting environment. Cross country is.
And the meets are fun. When
So
you-
yeah,
meets
that's
are
so that's
fun.
what I was. So you were say a home meet. Where do you guys run at? How does one?
So-
do you like say if I was to come? Do I like try to run and follow them, or do you just like pick a spot and you cheer from
Beginning,
one
middle,
thing,
and end.
or like how
It
do you-
depends on the course.
Okay.
You know, previously when we had set up our meet at Covington,
Okay.
you know, it was a great course
Yeah, it was.
because beautiful
Oh.
and perfect footing.
Great running, man.
I've never,
Yeah.
never
Great
ran. I've never-
watching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
Great watching.
But not necessarily crowd friendly
No.
unless you're a runner. Because in order to get out to that mile mark or get to the 2 mile mark, you gotta
get out.
run.
You gotta get out there.
You gotta run. But now that we're set up at Riverside, that helps parking issues
Okay.
considerably, and it's also
It's a
a
flat.
spectator-friendly
It's a
course.
So when you say Riverside, is that out at like where the softball fields are?
The soccer fields.
The soccer
We set up
fields,
the-
okay,
yeah,
like
the
at that's
soccer
why
fields.
fields?
Yep.
Okay, I know right
Yeah,
where
what
you're
do they
at.
call that?
It's right by Miracle Park, right?
No,
Yeah.
no, no,
No,
it's in town here. what are those fields
Oh,
called down there?
Ours.
Scenic parks.
Yeah,
park.
scenic park.
Scenic Riverview
Scenic park.
ballparks.
Just
Okay.
flat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
it's-
so we've kind of worked at trying to make that our home course because the complications with having a course on a golf course are
Parking was
is a
a
major
big
issue.
one.
And then also if you get any amount of rain or bad weather,
Oh.
like you're risking tearing up the greens and tearing up
Oh,
the
yeah.
course, and so then we would have to cancel. And when we have our course down by the river, we're
None of
able
those
to,
issues are
well,
there.
yeah, none of those issues are there. We're able to keep it going, keep it running, and then that allows us to host things like RCC conference and
Because you-
districts,
yeah.
and because we have those things
And
available.
because when you travel to like Classman, probably no schools are you're going to run at the school. You're usually at a golf course, you're at a
Yeah.
ballpark or an athletic complex kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to be
Not running around the track.
Not running around the track. You're not running
Absolutely
around
not.
usually the campus of the school. So.
Yeah,
Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. This has been
Absolutely.
great. It's been very educational.
When is your first home
Yeah,
meet?
do you
When-
have- when
do you have a
sometime-
home meet?
We
should know.
usually have a home meet on our last Thursday of the month of September. So I don't know, what date is that?
It's okay.
Hey, hey,
But it's the
we'll put-
last Thursday of September.
Okay, well, you put it out on, put it out on your social, on the
Yeah.
Twitter,
Yeah.
X or whatever it is
X.
now,
X.
X, and,
Oh, that's the other thing, we're able to bring back the middle school.
Okay.
At our home meet and do
Oh,
high school,
nice.
middle school together by doing it down by the river. So
That is
then, the crowd can come together and
Exposure.
watch exposure,
Some
yeah.
of the young kids, yes, nice.
Yes.
oh, cool, looking forward, hopefully we'll be able to make it down there, and, again.
Get some running in.
Yeah, and hey, if anything, I think a few years ago, the Booster Club had gotten some running watches for you, but I think, those are of antiquated technology now with things, but again, come, we're here to help. If anything you might need, cross-country,
We
track,
will, yeah.
whatever, and, again, for us to help our cross-country
Yeah, I know
and
you
track
guys
teams.
do that team meal.
Yep, and
So
the team meal, and
we
so.
had discussed maybe contacting you guys about that for RCC conference or
Cool.
setting something up.
Yeah, I think it's,
So-
yeah, we do $10 per athlete that you're traveling with there, and so,
Yep.
yeah, that's what a lot of they do, they pick kind of, hey, a big meet or a big tournament or something where they traveled really far, and, other coaches then do it, say, kind of as an end of the year, kind of team bonding, final party kind of thing, and they do something here at the school, so whatever you see fit there,
Yeah,
so, and,
sure.
but yeah, thanks for,
No, thanks for having me.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
and, yeah, we'll see.
Episode 4.
Episode
next
4
week.
done. No,
Yeah.
on to 5. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great job. It's September 28th, I think, on that.
Yeah, maybe put it on.